The ground was broken and black, filled with ash and smoke. Fire still burned in some corners. Machines were shattered. Bodies were silent. The battlefield was no longer a place of war. It was a graveyard. From beneath a fallen wall, something moved, a hand, thin, burned, shaking. Then a shoulder. A head with long strands of silver hair, tangled with blood and dust. Slowly, painfully, the alien girl pulled herself out. Her name was Kari. Her breathing was rough. Her lips were cracked. Her body was full of wounds, cuts, bruises, broken bones. Her leg dragged behind her. Her left eye was swollen shut. She was alive, barely. She looked around with one working eye, hoping someone had stayed. Anyone. Her own soldiers, her command, the medic team. But the sky was empty. The coms were silent. She heard only wind and distant crackling flames. Kari crawled. Each movement sent pain shooting through her spine. Her armor was torn, half melted. Blood soaked her side. Still she moved. Inch by inch, she whispered something in her own language. A prayer, maybe, or just a name. Her voice cracked, too dry for words. She had been left behind. Abandoned hours passed. The sun dipped low. Her body burned with fever. But she reached the broken remains of a small post. She pulled herself up against the metal wall and pressed a button on a half-smashed transmitter. No. Signal. She dropped her head and closed her eye. A sound made her look up. Footsteps. She held her breath. Was it an enemy? A scavenger? Her hand moved weakly toward a blade strapped to her hip, but it wasn't there anymore. She had nothing. The footsteps stopped just a few meters away. She heard a voice, low and confused. Hey, ... That a shadow fell over her. She opened her eye again. Through blurred vision, she saw a shape. Tall, broad, not like her kind. His skin was pale, his uniform dusty and torn. A human. Her breath caught. She tried to move, but her body failed her. She pushed her back harder against the wall, expecting pain, expecting a weapon. But he didn't attack. He knelt. He looked at her face, his eyes full of confusion. And something else. Not fear, not hate. Pity? Are you alive? He asked. She didn't understand his words, but she heard his tone. Gentle. He reached for her slowly, showing his hands. No gun, no blade, just fingers, open and calm. She flinched. Her body shook. Easy, he whispered. I'm not going to hurt you. Still, she didn't trust him. Why would she? Her people had left her. This was the enemy. He could finish her right here, but he didn't. Instead, pulled out a small metal bottle and opened the cap. Water. He held it near her lips. She hesitated, then took one sip. Then two. It tasted like life. He smiled. That's better. ... Why? She whispered in her own tongue. He didn't understand the word, but he seemed to know the meaning. I couldn't leave you like this, he said. She stared at him. This human didn't look like a soldier, more like a repair tech. His clothes were patched. He had a bandage on one hand. He looked tired, but he was here. She tried to sit up, failed. Her head dropped to the side. The human checked her pulse. Then, carefully, he lifted her into his arms. Her body tensed. Weak claws scratched his chest. Not strong enough to harm. It's just instinct. I've got you, he said. Hold on. He carried her away from the burning ruins, his boots crunching. Over glass and ash, the sky darkened. The wind grew colder. She didn't know where he was taking her. But for the first time since the battle, she felt something warm. Hope. Cole had heard the warnings. They were posted on every outpost wall, stamped on every soldier's chest plate, and whispered across every channel. Do not engage with the wounded enemy. Do not help. They could be bait. They could be monsters. When he saw her bleeding, broken, barely breathing, none of that mattered. He had found her near the ruins of the old communication tower. She was more bones than muscle. Armor melted into her skin, silver hair soaked with blood. An alien? Yes. But she looked more like a dying child than a soldier. Cole had seen bodies before. He'd even left some behind. But not this one. He knelt. Slowly beside her, careful not to frighten her again. Her one good eye followed his every move. She didn't speak. She didn't move. But he could feel the fear in her breath, shaky and shallow. He unhooked his backpack and reached for the emergency medkit. Her breathing hitched as he opened it. She probably thought he was pulling out a weapon. Instead, he took a thermal blanket and gently wrapped it around her shoulders. "You're not bait," he muttered under his breath. "You're barely alive." The girl trembled as the warmth touched her skin. Still, she didn't speak. She looked up at him, confused, exhausted, and blinked once. Slow. Then her body slumped forward. Hey, stay with me," Cole said. Quickly holding her up, her pulse was weak. Her skin was freezing. He knew she wouldn't last an hour without real care. But the nearest med station was off limits. The alien races were at war with Earth. Bringing her there would raise alarms. He'd be charged with aiding the enemy, so he made a choice. He picked her up. She weighed almost nothing in his arms. Her head rested weakly against his chest, and her claws brushed his shoulder but didn't grip. Cole turned toward the old mining tunnels, deep, forgotten, and off-grid. A place no drone would search. The sky above was turning orange, painted by smoke and fire. In the distance, metal vultures circled wreckage, looking for power sources or salvage. He had to move fast. Step by step, he carried her into the cold, dark tunnels. Deep inside the rock, far from sensors and eyes, Cole found a collapsed shelter. He kicked in the broken door and laid her down on the only dry spot. He pulled off his jacket and draped it over her. Then he lit a small burner and placed it near her side. She moaned softly. That sound stopped him. He turned. Her lips moved. He leaned close. "Ka," she whispered. It wasn't English, but something in her voice told him Mitt was her name. Cole repeated it softly, testing the shape of it on his tongue. "Carrie." Her eye fluttered open for a second, then closed again. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know why she was abandoned. But the way she had said that one word, it was not a code or command. It was human, raw, real. She didn't cry, didn't beg, she just breathed, trusted. That scared him more than any enemy drone. Night came fast underground. Cole sat beside her, watching her chest rise and fall. Slow. Too slow. She needed more care than he could give. But still, stayed. He pulled a cloth from his bag, dipped it in clean water, and gently wiped the dirt and dried blood from her face. Beneath it, her skin was soft and pale blue, almost glowing. Her ears were long, curved like blades, but delicate. Her features weren't terrifying. They were beautiful, fragile, wounded. He whispered, "They left you, didn't they?" She didn't answer, but her breathing shifted. "I won't." The words surprised even him. He sat back, took a deep breath, and stared at the flickering flame. He should be reporting this. He should be miles away by now, instead. He watched over a dying alien girl who had told him her name with her last breath. Cole didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But tonight, he made a quiet promise, not just to her but to himself. He would not leave her behind. Not now, not ever. The sound of fire crackling was the first thing she heard. The warmth came next, soft. Steady, not like a battle blaze, but like safety. Her senses returned slowly. Her head throbbed, her body ached. Her throat was dry, but she could feel something solid beneath her. A blanket. She moved her hand and touched the edge of cloth. Rough, not hers. It smelled like metal, smoke, and something strange human. Kari's. One good eye opened, and then she froze. He was there, the human, sitting only a few feet away, with his arms crossed and his head tilted back against the wall. His weapon leaned near the door, untouched. His eyes were closed, but not deeply, resting but alert. Her heart pounded fast, Enemy. She didn't scream. Her instincts told her to run, but her body didn't agree. When she tried to move, pain shot through her chest. She gasped. The human stirred instantly. His eyes opened, their eyes locked. Kari felt her breath stop. Her claws twitched. He raised his hands slowly. "It's okay," he said gently. "You're safe." She didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. No threat. Just calm. Still, she backed away, just a little, until her shoulder hit the stone behind her. Her body was too weak to fight. She hated that. Hated the fear in her own breath. She was supposed to be a warrior, but this human hadn't hurt her, in fact. He had saved her. She looked down and saw her wounds were cleaned. Her leg was wrapped in cloth. Her side was no longer bleeding. Her body was warmer than before. He had done all of it. Her eye returned to his face. She searched for something mockery. Control, anything that would make him like the others she knew in war. But he looked away. "I won't touch you," he said softly. "Not unless you ask." Kari didn't know what those words meant, but his voice didn't shake. It didn't command. It offered. He reached beside him and picked up a small box. Inside were water and a food packet. He opened it slowly, then slid it toward her. Kari's stomach twisted. Hunger, real, sharp hunger. She stared at the food, then at him. He didn't move. He just watched her with patient eyes. Carefully, she picked up the packet. It wasn't her kind's food, but it was warm. It smelled strange but edible. She sniffed, then took a small bite. Her hands shook. She didn't realize she was crying until a tear slid down her cheek. He didn't point it out. He didn't say anything. Just turned his head and looked into the fire again. Something in her chest broke. Not from pain, but from the silence. From the way he treated her like someone worth helping. Like she wasn't a burden or a thing. She wiped her face quickly. "Kavi," she whispered. His head turned again. She placed her hand on her chest and said it louder. "Kavi." His eyes widened. Then he nodded once and repeated, "Kavi." Voice said it differently but gently. She tilted her head, then pointed at him, confused. He smiled. "Cole, C-O-L," she tried. He grinned. "Close enough." For a moment, neither moved. The fire crackled between them. The war outside felt far away. Just two broken lives in a cave of stone, sharing warmth, sharing names. She leaned back slowly and let her body rest again. Her eye never left him. But it didn't watch with fear anymore, just curiosity. Who was this human? Why did he help her? And most of all, what did he want? He didn't speak more. Just pulled his coat tighter and settled into the wall, as Kari drifted toward sleep again. One thought circled in her mind like a whisper. If he meant to harm her, he already would have. Maybe, just maybe, this human wasn't like the others. Maybe he wasn't the enemy after all. The second time Kari woke, she didn't panic. The fire was still glowing, softer now, flickering against the damp stone walls. The human Cole was sitting beside her again, sharpening a small tool. His eyes glanced up the moment he felt her. Stir. She blinked slowly. Her head didn't hurt as much. Her breath was steadier. Her wounds still burned, but they were no longer bleeding. He said nothing. She sat up slightly, groaning from the pain in her side. Cole reached for the water flask and handed it to her. This time, she didn't hesitate. She drank slowly, then wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. "Better?" he asked. She didn't know the words, but the tone made sense. She gave a faint nod. Then her eyes shifted to the wall behind him. On the cold stone, someone had drawn something, symbols, letters, scribbles. She pointed at it with her clawed finger. Cole followed her gaze. "Oh, that?" he said, surprised. "I was trying to teach you." He picked up a small stick of chalk and wrote one word slowly. KR tapped each letter gently, then pointed to her. She stared at it. Her name. In his writing, her lips moved. Kari smiled. Then he wrote another word next to it. CRLs tapped his chest. Cole. She repeated it softly. Cole. Then she reached toward the wall and added something beside the names her own. Script, curved lines, ancient shapes. Her people's writing. Cole looked at it and raised an eyebrow. Looks better than mine. Kari let out a sound. Not a word, not a laugh. But close. He noticed it, and the corner of his mouth lifted. Hours. Passed in silence, broken only by the crackle of fire and the occasional shift of stone above them. The ruins were deep, safe from drones, but not from time. The walls groaned sometimes. Rocks fell in the distance. Cole stayed alert. I watched him. She saw how he moved, slow, careful. She saw the way he placed each object around the shelter knife. Light, water, heat, all ready. All planned. She realized something then. He wasn't a soldier, not really. He was a protector. Her people never trained that way. Warriors were meant to strike, win, die, if needed. But Cole moved like someone who had lost too much and now refused to lose again. She leaned back against the wall and whispered something. He looked at her, Kari. Thank you, she said slowly, voice weak, trying to shape words in his language. He blinked. You're welcome, she nodded, satisfied. Her body trembled again. Fever still burned in her veins. She clutched her side and tried to stay upright, but her strength was fading fast. Cole reached forward quickly, catching her before she hit the ground. He lowered her gently, supporting her head. You're burning. Up, he whispered. You need more than I can give. She couldn't answer. Her eyes began to close. The world spun around her. The fire grew distant. But before the dark took her, she opened her mouth one last time. Don't. Go. The words were clear. Cole froze. He looked at her face. Her claws gripped his arm, just enough to hold. Her lips barely moved, but the message was there. Don't leave me. He exhaled slowly. I won't. Her claws let go. Her body went still. She was breathing, but unconscious. He sat there for a long time, his hand on her shoulder, his thoughts spinning. She was an alien. She was supposed to be the enemy. But in that moment, she was something else. Someone left behind. Someone who didn't want to die alone. He adjusted the blanket over her, and added more heat to the burner, then leaned back and watched her sleep. Outside, the cave night stretched across the stars. Inside, two names sat side by side on a stone wall. K-A-A-R-I, Cole. The sound of metal echoed in the distance. Cole had just stepped outside the cave for a minute, tonely, a minute to gather heat cells from a broken drone husk. The sun was rising through the cracks above the canyon, casting long orange beams through the ashen ruins. Then he heard it, boots. Not his. He dropped the power cell. Eyes narrowing. They were coming. Cole ran back toward the cave, boots kicking up dust. As he reached the entrance, he slowed and stepped behind a rusted beam. Shadows moved along the path. Voices spoke in a sharp, cold tongue. Not human. Alien soldiers. Curry's people. He could see 3 of them, clad in sleek black armor. Faces covered, weapons glowing faint green. They scanned the area like hunters. One of them tapped a wrist device. Soft beep answered. They were tracking something. No dash someone. Cole's hand went to the knife at his belt. He didn't move. Not yet. The lead soldier raised a finger and pointed toward the cave entrance. Kair, they had found her, inside the cave. Kari stirred weakly. Her fever had broken a little, but her body was still recovering. She blinked against the firelight and sat up slowly, pain tightening her chest. She heard it too. Footsteps, familiar rhythm, but not safe. Her eyes widened. She reached for the wall, tried to rise, but her leg failed her. She could only crawl backward into the shadows. The soldiers entered. Their weapons were lowered, but their presence was heavy. One stepped forward and spoke her name. Kari. She didn't answer. They moved closer. Another voice came, rough and impatient. By command, you're to be returned. Her eye narrowed. Returned. They had left her to die. Now they wanted to take her like nothing had happened? She shook her head. No, she said weakly. The nearest soldier raised a brow. You don't get to refuse. One stepped forward, reached for her arm. Then a new voice cut through the cave. Step away from her. The soldiers turned fast. Cole stood at the entrance, eyes locked, weapon raised. His voice was calm but firm. She's not going with you. The lead soldier narrowed his eyes. She is of our blood. Cole stepped forward. She's under my care. The soldiers didn't respond with words. They raised their weapons in silence. Cole didn't back down. He knew the odds. He was one. Human, low on ammo, outmatched. But he didn't care. Because Kari wasn't just another alien anymore. She was someone who had trusted him, and she had nothing left. Someone who had whispered, "Don't go." Kari tried to rise again. Her voice broke. "Cole, stop." But he didn't. "She doesn't want to go with you," he said, voice steady. "She told me." "She's not yours to claim." The lead soldier laughed, bitter and cold. "She's not yours either, human." Cole didn't blink then. Maybe she belongs to herself. The moment hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Then the soldiers moved fast. Fast. Cole fired first. His shot striking the wall and blinding one of them with sparks. The second charged forward, but Cole dropped and rolled, kicking his leg out. And knocking the attacker back, the third raised a blade, but before he could strike, a voice rang out, "Stop!" Kari had pulled herself upright, leaning against the stone with everything she had. "I choose him," she said. Her voice was weak but clear. The soldiers froze. She pointed a shaking claw toward Cole. "He didn't leave me. You did." Silence. Fell. Then the lead soldier lowered his weapon. He stared at her, eyes unreadable behind his visor. "Very well." He turned without another word. The others followed. No fight, no. Farewell. They left her again, only this time by choice. Cole rushed to her side. She collapsed into him, breath sharp, body shaking. "You could have died," she whispered. He smiled. "You, too." They both laughed, broken and tired. But they were alive together, and this time, no one stood between them. The cave was quiet again. Only the sound of fire crackling and wind brushing against the rocks remained. The danger had passed, but the tension hadn't. Cole sat near the wall, breathing hard. Cleaning the cut on his arm from the earlier fight, Kari lay close by, wrapped in blankets. She was awake, watching him. She hadn't spoken since the soldiers left, not because she was angry, because she didn't understand. Why would a human risk everything for her? Why didn't he run? She had watched him face 3 trained warriors alone. He could have been killed. For her, and yet he stayed. That made no sense to her. Her people abandoned the weak, left the fallen behind. It was survival. It's how she had been raised. That's how the universe worked. But Cole broke that rule without hesitation. She shifted. Pain still shooting through her side, but she forced herself to sit up. He looked over. "You okay?" She nodded once. Then she stared at him for a long moment and asked, slowly, carefully, "Why?" He tilted his head. "Why? Help me." Cole didn't answer at first. He picked up a broken gear piece and turned it in his hand, as if searching for the right words in the metal. Then he looked at her. "You asked me not to go," he said quietly. Kari blinked. "I heard it," he continued. "You were scared. You didn't want to be alone again. So I stayed." She stared at him. "That's simple." He gave a short nod. "That's simple." Kari looked down. Her claws touched the blanket's edge. It was the first time someone had chosen her for nothing. No title, no order, no reward, just a choice. "You're different," she said. Cole chuckled. "That's what people keep telling me." She looked back up, eyes softer now. "My kind. They say humans are wild, violent, dangerous." Raised an eyebrow. "And what do you think?" She paused. "I think they are wrong." Cole looked surprised. Not because of what she said, but because of how certain her voice was. She continued, "You brought warmth. You shared food. You risked your life. No one in my command would do that." He shrugged. "Then maybe you need better commanders." She let out a sound between a laugh and a breath. Her hand reached slowly toward the wall beside her. She traced her name against his, then she whispered, "We are not enemies anymore." Cole smiled. "We never were." The fire dimmed a little. Cole threw another broken panel onto it, and sparks flew into the air. I watched the sparks rise, then fade into the dark. "I don't know where to go now," she admitted. "Then stay here," Cole said. She shook her head. "They'll come back, or others will. The war isn't over." "No," he agreed, "but this cave is safe for now, and we have time." "For what?" He looked at her with calm eyes. "To figure it out." She looked away, unsure of what to say. Her world had always been clear. Follow orders, win or die. Trust no one. But now, with her back broken and her heart cracked open, she didn't want war anymore. She wanted peace. And this human had given her the first piece of it. "I don't know how to be anything but a weapon," she whispered. Cole stood and walked over. He knelt beside her and took her hand gently in his. "Then learn to be more," he said. "Start now." She looked into his face, and for the first time in her life, she didn't see fear or duty or blood. She saw hope. And it scared her because hope was dangerous. Hope meant you had something to lose. Later that night, Kari fell asleep beside the fire, her breathing steady. Cole stayed awake, guarding the entrance. He didn't trust the silence, but he trusted her, and that was enough. The morning sky above the canyon cracked open with silver light. Cole stood at the cave's edge, staring into the distance. His weapon was slung low, but his posture was firm. Something in the air had changed. He felt it in his chest. Pressure. A warning. Kari sensed it too. She sat inside the cave, her body wrapped in the same worn blanket he had given her days ago. Her strength had returned. The pain had faded. But her heart was heavy. She knew they were coming, and she knew this time. It wasn't just scouts. She stepped outside beside him, her legs still stiff but holding strong. Cole looked over, surprised. "You should rest." She shook her head. "They'll want me awake." He didn't ask who she meant. He already knew. Moments later, the sky darkened with a ship's shadow. Not a scout, a command vessel. It lowered slowly over the ridge, its engines humming like thunder across the valley. Dust whipped into the air. Blue lights blinked on its sides. A ramp extended with a hiss. 10 soldiers stepped out, armor gleaming, weapons holstered but ready. Then came a taller figure. Her father. Kari's breath caught. The man she had once called leader. The one who had left her to die. He walked forward like nothing had happened. His voice was calm. "You have survived," he said. I didn't speak. He looked at Cole. "And this is your rescuer." Cole didn't move. His hand stayed near his weapon. Kari stepped between them. "He's the only reason I'm alive," she said. Her father's face didn't change. "Then he has served his purpose. Come, Kari. We will bring you home. Your place is with us." Kari's jaw tightened. "My place?" she said softly. "You mean the place you left me? It's the one where I was forgotten in the dirt while my body bled into stone?" Her father's eyes narrowed. "You disobeyed orders? You broke formation? You were not essential?" Cole clenched his fists, but Kari raised a hand. "No," she said. "I see it now. I was never important to you. Not as a daughter, not as a soldier, only as a tool." Her father stepped forward. "You will return. That is final." Cole stepped beside her. "No," Kari said firmly. "It's not." She turned fully to face the ship and the soldiers behind it. "I will not return with you. I have chosen my path, and it is not yours." Her father's voice grew colder. "You would stay with a human?" She didn't hesitate. "I would stand beside someone who did not leave me when I was broken, someone who protected me without reward, someone who saw me as more than just a weapon." The soldiers shifted behind her father, confused, silent. One of them whispered something. Kari heard it. So did her father. "Let her go." He turned sharply. The soldier stepped back. But the words were already said. I faced her father one last time. I am not yours to command anymore." The silence was heavy. Then her father turned without another word. He walked back to the ship, stiff and proud. The others followed. No fight. No. Good. Just silence. The ramp closed. The ship lifted into the sky and disappeared beyond the cliffs. Kari stood still for a long moment. Cole looked at her. "Are you okay?" She exhaled slowly. "Yes." And then she smiled. "For the first time, I think I am." They returned to the cave that night, but it no longer felt like a hiding place. It felt like a beginning. Kari drew new symbols on the wall. Her script next to his. A line connecting both names. Cole looked at it and smiled. "What does that mean?" She glanced at him. "It means chosen." He nodded. "I like that." She sat beside him at the fire. Her people had returned, but she had chosen something else. She had chosen him, and he had never once let her go.